Good evening, everybody. Sorry we're a little bit late on getting the meeting started. I know you're not used to seeing me up here. Steve had to go out of town this weekend on a trip, so I get the honor of leading the meeting tonight. Most of you may know me, some of you don't. I'm Sean Rogers, the Vice President of the club. Just a few announcements before I turn it over to Jacob for his presentation. Members of the club, last month, I believe y'all discussed the proposed bylaws that we're trying to get set up for the club. Jamie should have already got your ballot to you when you came in to vote to approve or reject those. For the few that did the deposit on the nuke order, don't forget the final payment on that is due by the 15th, and I can send out an email if there's anybody here that did that. I can send out another email on that from the website, so you'll have that link to get in and pay for those. I guess there's been some questions asked tonight about the nematodes. Email that I sent out, or that we sent out this morning. For those that aren't familiar with nematodes, it's a very small microscopic worm that lives in the soil, and when the small hive beetle larva, when it gets ready to pupate, it will come out of the hive, fall to the ground, dig down into the ground 4 to 6 inches to pupate, and as it's doing that, the nematodes will attack the larval stage of the small hive beetle, kill it, and then they actually reproduce in the body of the small hive beetle larva. They come in you get it in a Ziploc bag. It's got a gel for hydration for them. You mix some water in on it, and then you run it through like a tea strainer to strain the gel out, and you put it in, basically add some more, put it in some more water, put it in the best way to do it is just a garden can, sprinkle, and you just sprinkle it around the ground, around and under the hive. Any other questions on that will be around after the meeting if you need to ask more questions. Other note here, for members, don't forget Field Day, April 23rd. We'll be talking about hive site prep, nuke installation, and hive setup. We'll send out an email to the members with more details on that here in a week or so. If you haven't done your 50-50 drawing, if you want to get in on that, Jamie still has tickets back there for that. And for members that want to be on the swarm list and aren't, be sure to log into the website and your member profile, check that you are. We set up the GroupMe account where we'll just send out it'll blast text to everybody that's on that list. And also mentor list for those that are experienced beekeepers that you're willing to help out some of our new beekeepers. We've got a lot of new beekeepers this year. Be sure to check on there as well that you're willing to help out as a mentor. And if you see somebody, there's a list on the member side of the website where you can see who's requesting mentors or what mentors are available. Check that out. If you see one close to you and you're willing to help them out. We were all beginners at one point. So with that, our speaker tonight, Jacob Bates. He's our bee inspector for the north half of Arkansas for the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. Jacob.
Thank you, Sean. As Sean said, I am the apiary inspector for the north half of Arkansas. I'm here to help y'all if y'all need inspections for selling bees and moving bees, or if you just need help with your hives. Here's my contact information, so you can take that down. That's the best way to contact me is my phone number there. You can take a picture. I have cards too if you need a card. Everybody get that? No, we're still taking pictures, all right. As it said on my card there, agriculture.arkansas.gov is our website. If you click on that, it'll take you to this page. And see if I can get this pointer. Does it have a pointer on it? If you click right there at Plant Industries, it'll take you to the next page. It looks like this. And then you want to click on Regulatory Section. And it'll take you to the next page. And it'll have apiary somewhere on there. I think I may have skipped it, but yeah, it's on the side, over there on the side, yeah. Click on that, and it'll take you to our page, and there's all the information about the Asian giant hornets that are still in Pacific Northwest. And if you scroll down the page, there's bee yard registration form, which is right at the top. And then there's apiary information packet. It's got a lot of information about different beekeeping topics and pests and other diseases. Information on that, and apiary rules and regulations is down below that, and that's lists all the Arkansas apiary laws. Which that's just the brief. That's what the first of that looks like. We'll just summarize it for everybody. Apiary registration, if you own or lease or possess bees within 10 days after coming into ownership or possession of bees or before moving bees from outside of the state of Arkansas, file with the board an application for registration. And no person can place bees on property other than his own within a 3-mile radius of the previous registered area without written permission of all the beekeepers in that area. But if you own your land, there's nobody gets anything, it's automatic registration. And there's the form. You basically fill in your information up top, and if you're a new beekeeper, check that. If you're registering a new yard and you're already a beekeeper, you check registered beekeeper. And all we require now, I mean, if you have quarter section and all of that township range, you can fill that in, but just the GPS degrees of your bee yard of latitude and longitude, you'll fill them out and put if you own the land or whoever owns the land and what you'd like to call your apiary name or number and put the county in there. And then just, you can mail that, you can email it to me, or you can mail it into the address on the form. You can't fax it. I don't think our fax machine is working that well. Someone faxed it, but I guess it went through. But emailing is the fastest way. An illegal beehive, you can't put bees in a bee gum like they used to do, or in a skep. It has to have a hive with removable frames. So it's the duty of all persons engaged in beekeeping to provide movable frames in all hives used by them to contain bees and to cause the bees in such hives to construct brood combs in such frames so that any of the said frames may be removed from the hive without injuring other combs in such hive. So basically, we have to be able to pull out the frames to look at the brood. And you're supposed to identify your apiary. Here's a couple of pictures I took the other day while I was making this slide. And it just, basically you can have your name and address on there. I just put my name and what I call my honey and my registration number. But you can put it on one hive, you can put it on a sign. I've seen different beekeepers put it, but it's good to have that and it's required. Inspections. Only beekeepers transferring or selling or giving away hives or moving them have to be inspected. That's the only time you have to have an inspection. But if you're having problems, be sure and call and we'll try to get you taken care of. And if you're wanting to sell, donate, barter, etc., you can't do it unless you've been inspected. So no person shall sell, offer for sale, give away, or otherwise transfer ownership of any colony of bees or queen bees without first receiving from the board a health certificate issued not more than 6 months prior to getting rid of them. A copy of the certificate shall be issued by the seller or given to the purchaser or person receiving the colony at the time of delivery. And registration and inspection are all free. Here's the emails and the contact for the office in Little Rock in case I'm out and you need to get a hold of somebody. That's another. Zach's our boss. He's our manager. Lexi is our admin. She takes care of all the registrations and stuff like that and inspection reports. There's my email, and John Martin is the southern inspector. All right, they wanted me to talk about splitting honeybee colonies tonight. So I just came up with the two types of splits that are most common and ones that I utilize mostly. There's the walkaway split. It's basically taking a 2-chambered colony and splitting it in half, or creating an artificial swarm when a splitting colony when it's in swarm mode to create an artificial swarm. So that's my most common use type of split. Here's how you would basically do a walkaway split. So basically you want to make sure the colony is big enough and had enough bees that you can feel confident and you can split it in half and both halves can survive. Because you basically want to arrange it just like it shows up there. You want to have an equal amount of brood and food in each colony. You don't want to take all the brood and put in one and leave all the food behind, or vice versa. It won't survive. And you can either let the bees raise their own queen, or you can buy a queen and put in there, or you can get a queen cell. There's multiple ways to add a queen to the split. But you need to feed both those hives because you basically took away some members from each one. A swarm control split. If I see swarm cells in a colony, I will find the queen, move her and the frame she is on into a newt, and find the frame of brood and the frame of food, leaving the foundation in the original colony with the swarm cells. This causes the bees, they think they have swarmed because they have no queen, but be sure and do not move swarm cells with the original queen into her new box. Otherwise, they may swarm too in the new box. And interesting enough, I split a colony this year, and they swarmed out of the split. And they didn't have their queen cell with them. They made one and left anyway. So they were, I guess, in the mode. And it's not a foolproof method. It's beekeeping. Yeah, a queen cell. Not just a queen cup, but a cell with larvae in it or an egg. Because the best way I do that, I'll take a colony and if they're a double deep chamber, I'll split the box off, the top box, and pull it forward a little bit and tilt it back and look underneath there. And if I'll always see queen cups if they're in the mode, but if I see larvae, then I go and I start finding the queen and pull her out. Because it's easier to split them out of the hive than it is catching them out of the tree if you get them. Sometimes they fly off before you get them, you know. Any other questions on that? And that's what one of those looked like I did the other day. There's a drone comb in there because I just had it in the box already. I need to take that out. But I always feed them, just get them started again. All right, we'll go back. We can leave it because I'm going to talk about it. Also, I got to attend the American Beekeeping Federation conference in Las Vegas back in January. That was very interesting. So if you ever get a chance to go there next year, it's going to be in Jacksonville, Florida. There's a lot of good talks. It's about 3 or 4 days long. I think it's four days. But Randy Oliver spoke. There was a lot of good talks on beekeeping. He did a recent study on pollen substitute, and he found that I think global patties, and there's another one that has natural pollen in it, the bees really did a lot better on brood buildup than they did off of like Ultra Bee or Daydance HB23. So the natural pollen really kicks them into raising a lot of brood fast. So if you want to build your bees up to make splits for nukes in the spring, that's a good thing to use. Something with natural pollen. The what? The American Beekeeping Federation. It's their annual conference and trade show. It's a really good thing, and they do a lot for the beekeeping industry. They're not just for the commercial guys, they're for the backyarders and everybody in between. They have a lot of anti-honey dumping legislation and stuff they're doing, and just a lot of good information there. A lot of neat stuff at the trade show, all the new beekeeping equipment coming out.
Where they having that next year?
Jacksonville, Florida. I guess they rotated. I don't know where it's gonna be after that. And there's another one, I think, the American Honey Producers. They have a conference similar to that. They're kind of another national organization for beekeeping. All right, any other questions?
I have a question, but it's not about children.
That's fine.
Last year, after I harvested my honey, I took the honey supers and I put them back on top of the hives, thinking that they would clean them up and potentially kill them. And mistakenly, I left them on for a month. And then I got an infestation of hives.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, would I like to go back on and get them cleaned up and take them off earlier, I'm guessing, if I was? Or is that not what I should do in the first place?
Well, it's easier just to set them out away from your bee yard after you're done harvesting, and the bees will fly and they'll clean them up. And if you leave them out there for a day or two, they'll really just make them super clean, and then they're ready for storage. Because what happened, you put them back on there, and the colonies at that time of year, the colony's starting to go down, so they had all this extra room. So yeah, it's a high volume magnet.
This is my second year, so I have, hobbies more than I wish I had. I don't want two hives right now, but I read everything that says that you probably need two hives. One for backup in case one.
Well, yeah.
So, would you recommend me plan fully getting another hive started, this year?
Well, it's good to have two hives. For the main reason is if one hive is struggling, you can tell the difference, because if you've just got one hive, it's hard to see what they're actually doing, but you can compare it to another hive. So that's the reason behind it. And it's bee mass, so if you have two and you keep them alive, you're gonna have 4 next year.
What are your thoughts on if you have a stronger hive sharing the honey? Like maybe taking honey from one of those stronger hives and putting it in the weaker hive?
I mean, if they need it, then yeah, if you think the strong hive has enough to leave behind, yeah, there's no problem with that. As long as, you know both hives are healthy, you don't wanna, if you see a European foulbrood or something, you definitely don't wanna swap frames around, but if your hives are all good, yeah, that's fine.
Screen cotton board versus solid cotton board.
That's a personal opinion.
Yeah.
I personally like solid bottom boards. I've had both, and some people swear by screen bottom boards. It's a beekeeping thing. It's just whatever you think that's what you want.
I have both, and I don't know what's the
Yeah, see, it's personal preference. It's a lot of those beekeeping questions. You ask 10, you get 12 different answers.
Well, I think one advantage you got for screen on board is them, high beetles or, they fall down in the bottom, and they fall through that screen. And then it's hard for them to get back to the hive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some people, but I know a lot of commercial beekeepers, they run solid bottom boards and migratory covers, and they have very, very few hive beetles. I think it gives the bees less space to defend, so they can keep them out, but, it's one of those things.
If you see that you need your miter count is high, what would you recommend to treat this time of year?
This time of year, just follow the label. If you got honey supers on, you gotta use stuff that's approved for use for the honey flow. But if there's no honey supers on, then there's a lot of options. Oxalic acid, there's Apivar, there's several different ones. You just have to time it for your operation. Any other questions? Does anybody need a registration form? I've got some here and my cards as well. Okay, okay. We'll get that done. You need one, or you got a question? Okay.
So I'm a new beekeeper, I actually just got my bees yesterday, put them in the hive yesterday afternoon. But now the temperatures are cooling off and there's a storm coming in, which I wasn't, I didn't think that was gonna happen for a little while. But, we actually checked under this morning, I didn't open it up. Went out there and flying around in and out of the little they came into, but when would you suggest would be a good time to actually check them again? Cause I know that they just kind of like relax.
Are you feeding them? Cause I'm assuming it's a package.
And I also put a pollen packet in.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
yeah, it should be.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now spring,
Just watch the weather whenever, hopefully by Saturday or Sunday, I think it's gonna be 80 down in my place, so I'm sure it'll be warm up here. Just a good warm day, and then you can get in there and check them, but, yeah. They won't because it's cold probably, but they might for other reasons. Packages sometimes do that. Yeah. But hopefully they'll stay. If you feed them, maybe they'll go ahead. They probably already build a comb.
How often is just like keeping the feeder full of sugar water?
While they're getting established, you need to keep it full.
But do you, like, I'm just curious, like, how fast they usually get through the feeder?
It just depends on the colony.
Okay.
Some can eat it real fast, some of them kind of just nibble on it.
Okay.
You said you split a hive already this year,
Yeah, I've split several because they were wanting to swarm.
so, my question is, you said something about kind of forcing them to swarm, or they would swarm on their own. When are they, what time of year are they most likely to swarm on their own?
Right now, this time of year. Yeah, it's early spring. Now, it's possible all year during the summertime, but the majority of the spring reproductive swarms, when that hive gets so full, they have no room to, the queen can't lay an egg, and the bees are all just packed out, then the workers will initiate a swarm. Basically, that's their way of reproducing, so. Yeah, it's this time of year, everyone needs to really check their hives for swarm cells. Because if you miss one, they'll swarm. Either way, the bees are wanting to split, so you can either do it, I prefer to do it, because I don't like climbing trees.
Is there a, disadvantage if you're, like, is there a harm if a hive splits?
Well, if they swarm, are you talking about if they swarm?
Yeah, like if they swarm.
If you're into it for honey production, you'll lose most of your honey production. That's the main reason. That's the reason I like doing this, because I can do 3-frame split out of that hive, and I really haven't lost a lot of workforce, so they still will, continue to make honey. They may take a, 20% loss, but they're still gonna make some honey that year. Whereas if they swarm, they can take over half the bees with them, so basically that hive is not gonna make honey for you. But I mean, some people let their bees swarm, they enjoy catching them. I had a beekeeper, he goes, I like catching them. I said, well, go for it. It is, if you've ever caught swarm, it is addictive. It's kinda like getting a little rush or something, I guess.
No, I don't think we're gonna even have like these yet, in a couple weeks I will, but, so to know, what are the signs, I'm just trying to understand what are the signs of knowing that they're getting ready to swarm, is it they're starting to lay those swarm cells? Which
Yeah.
ones that are queen cells, or those are new?
Basically, on the bottom of the frame, there'll be a cup that'll be pointing straight down on the bottom of the frame. And then if you see an egg or a larva in that, that's a swarm cell at that point. Otherwise, it's just a queen cup, then it becomes a queen cell. I call them swarm cells, queen cells. Because hives will make queen cells for any number of reasons, super procedures, or wanting to swarm, or emergencies.
Hey Jacob, back on the registration form, on the website, it's got the submit button on there. Does
Yes, that does not work still.
Okay, I must have missed that. So I just wanna make sure, because we had a question about that a week or two ago. And so still the best way is.
The
print
best
it off,
way,
snail
unfortunately,
mail,
is
or
you can print it out, fill it out, and then scan it and email it back to me or to those emails I listed there. You can email it straight to Lexi, because she's the one that handles it anyway. But,
And on for members and non-members of the club, if you want to, when you're filling out the information on our website, I've got a link to the registration form, as well as another link. You go in and put in the address of your apiary, and it won't tell you quarter section, but it'll tell you section, township, range, and then also the lat long in decimal degrees. So there's a link on the registration page. When you click on it, you enter your address, and it'll give you.
that's really handy, that's good y'all have that. Yeah. I always just pull it up on my phone.
You can't find queen with
That's a walk-away split. So basically, if you can't find the queen and you wanna split your colony, say you've got 2 deep chamber, 2 deeps on your hive. You just make sure there's brood in both boxes, and you can just take that and make sure there's food in both boxes, the same amounts. And you just take that one box, put it on the bottom board, put a hive cover on it, and then walk away. You can put them side by side, and then come back in a few days, and you'll know which one's queenless, and then you'll have queen cell. So yeah, but not all splits are successful. Sometimes the queen doesn't make it back, so you always have to stay on top of them. It's one of those things. But yeah, that's basically what they had. They had a strong hive with 8 frames of brood, and then 5 frames stay in the original hive, and 5 drawn out or added to fill in the missing frames. But you can see the orientation they have them in over there. And you could even divide it up. They kind of got it a little lighter on the new split, but you can, if you've got equal numbers, you can do that.
So the queen cell. With queen cell, you wind up having a queen.
And she still can swarm, yeah. If you're seeing queen cells, then you need to find that queen, and then go ahead and split. But if you see queen cells, Vernon can tell you, you can make a whole bunch of hives real fast if you've got a bunch of virgins or, queen cells about to hatch. That's another way of making splits.
I found if you go to see a lot of some drone cells, that they're getting ready.
They're preparing, yeah. They've got it on their mind. They may not want to just right then, but they're getting ready for it, because without a drone, then the new queen won't ever mate, so they're doomed. So that's why you see the drones starting to come along now.
You got there the drawn comb on the new split,
Yeah,
can those be in 2 frames?
yeah, they can be, because you're going to feed both hives anyway. But usually, if you've got a 2-story deep hive, you're going to have drawn comb up, in each one. Yeah, I will do that a little different, but that's just what I found.
Well, I'm thinking like that would be my best bet this year, cause I've got two, a deep and medium, and then a big super top.
Now, you could take that deep and divide it up, you
That's
know.
what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking like put empty frames on the sides.
Yeah. Have y'all talked about what is that? Is it the Honeybee Health Coalition, their survey going on right now? I got an email from it the other day.
No, sir, we haven't.
Well, that just started. Let me see if I can find it. No, it's the Be Informed Partnership. It's their annual loss and management survey. And the Fort Smith Bee Club, they talked about it last month. And I think there was only 23 people in Arkansas responded to that. And we've got a lot more beekeepers than that. So you can go to beinformed.org/take-survey. And there's a survey on there. It's open all the month of April. It just opened on the 1st and it stays open till the 30th. So that really helps, the Be Informed Partnership. They're gathering information on, you can go on there, you can click by county and see, you know, but if no one reports, they have no information. And, you can see how many colonies died in the winter, summer, or annual. But it gathers a lot of data for helping the honeybees. So that's a good one to go to. But yeah, that's the Honeybee or Be Informed Partnership. Beinformed.org is the website. And I'm sure it'll have the survey on there. But yeah, we need more beekeepers to do that.
Jacob, have you seen their, the Be Informed Partnership, their sampling program they're doing this year as well?
I haven't seen that.
Of course, you pay for the sampling kits, but they send you, I'm trying to remember how it's broken up. I know there's a 12 colony sample kit, 24, I don't remember if 12 is the lowest or not. But basically, they send you enough sample kits to sample once a month for 6 months. Live bees, you just like a mic check, basically. You put them in a container with salt water, if I remember correctly, to kill them. Then it's they provide you the shipping or packages and everything. You ship them to them. They do mic checks on them. They do, I think it's once or twice, they will do NODEMA checks, and then one of the tests, they'll actually even do a pesticide check. And then they will email you back the reports. Steve was wanting to talk about it tonight. He and I spoke about it briefly the other day. Whether we wanted to try to maybe get some interest in the club of maybe not doing that, but at least doing monthly, have somebody, you know, test the same hive every month for mic checks, and let's start doing a club, keeping club records for our area anyway, of our mic levels. He gets back next month, then we can talk about that some more, but
Yeah.
maybe even getting in on their program. Because I guess this is not the first year they've done it. Which organization? It's at B.
Yeah, we're about to start in June. We do the National Honeybee Survey. We've done that for a long time. Basically, we survey if a beekeeper, if they let me come and do it. So it's usually, sometimes I have a hard time finding volunteers, sometimes I don't. But you gotta have at least 10 colonies in your apiary, and then we survey 8 of those. So we'll take a sample of a quarter cup of live bees, and then we put a quarter cup into our alcohol, and we do that in all 8 colonies, and we bump the frame because we're surveying. They'll do a mite count, they'll do no semen check, they'll do DNA, basically a virus test, a PCR test on all the viruses that Varroa transmits that are in the bees, and they will do. I don't know if they do pesticides unless we're doing sampling bee pollen, but then we'll bump the frame because we're also making sure we don't have Apis cerana, which is the Asian giant honeybee in America, and we don't have the Tropolaelaps mite. It's like the Varroa mite on steroids. We do not want that here in the United States because there's really no good way to get rid of it. I watched some videos. It's somewhere, I think Taiwan is where it's found, one of the places, but the beekeepers basically, the only way they can figure out how to keep their bees alive, they constantly make splits about every 3 weeks. It's the only way they can keep them alive because this mite, it doesn't really, it's different than Varroa. It looks a little different, it's skinnier, and it doesn't stay on the bee but maybe 24 hours. It always lives on the brood frames, and it's fast. I watched the video. It's faster than the Varroa. The Varroa is kind of a big oval shape. This thing looks more like a spider. It's real narrow body. So yeah, definitely don't want that, but that's part of the National Honeybee Survey, so I'll be trying to start finding more beekeepers because I survey all around the north part of Arkansas.
I'm brand new to this, and, I look at my bees, I don't have my bees yet, but I was setting out my hives. So my question is, how likely is it for a swarm to take over a hive? Is that when I was setting mine out, there was a couple of bees going in and out?
It's possible. Do you have drawn comb in it or just foundation?
Just foundation.
Yeah, they will go in it. I mean, you make a bait hive, just about anything. You put a little lemongrass oil or swarm commander on it. Yeah, they're. Any other questions?
Was there anything new at the ABF conference?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of talks, you know, as far as like that pollen sub study and the differences. I mean, there was a lot. It's a lot to remember. It was good information though.
Anything new on the vendor side from there?
Well, they had these two ladies, I forgot what it was called. It was in the ADF journal the other day, but they basically make it, there are these things, you got this big looking, weird looking hive tool, and you stick it in the hive, and you got these airbags, and you just pump it up so you can get and put pollen patties in or treatments or whatever. It was kind of neat. They won the product of the year. But there was just a lot of vendors there with, you know, good stuff.
Any other questions for Jacob?
I've got them all solved, I guess. till tomorrow, huh? Why are my bees doing this?
We thank you, sir.
All right, thank y'all.
Only other thing I have is our 50-50 drawing, which was 79 total, so 39.50 would be 50%, and Mr. Brad just threw a number.
Last four are 9512.
9512, is that what you said?
Yep.
Chief, what? You
All right.
There you are.
I don't have anything else. If y'all picked Jacob's brain dry, then there's nothing I can answer for you, if you have any more questions. Like I said, next, for members, we'll have, what you have, Mr. Chief?
What about the laws that, Lowell has put up about beekeeping in the city?
They,
Think about that.
They did pass an ordinance, last fall. And it is, if I remember correctly, it's basically a copy of Bentonville's ordinance. So it's based on your lot size, on the number of hives you can have on each parcel. Has to be registered with the state, like, I wanna say it was Bentonville's ordinance that they pretty much copied. But beekeeping is allowed in Lowell still. For those that aren't familiar, last summer, the city council, charged the planning commission with researching it to see about possibly doing away with beekeeping inside the city limits. Thankfully, they did their research. It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. They contacted the club here. I'm sure they probably contacted other clubs as well, for information. We had several beekeepers show up at their planning commission meeting, and they recommended to the city council for an ordinance that allowed it, and so we consider that a win for our beekeepers in Lowell. If you haven't seen the ordinance, I can get you a copy of the ordinance, and I can find it online and give it to you. But other than that, well, I said, field day, oh, yes ma'am.
Do you know of, or maybe if anybody else have a good resource to share with your neighbor about that they're not really so our neighbor is a little bit nervous. He says that his daughter is allergic to these, and our hive is gonna kind of be up against their property, although it's still quite a ways from their house.
Mhm.
What do you, I don't know, how do you make
A
sure?
jar of honey goes a long way.
I over a year.
Yeah, I understand.
So like, I didn't know if there's any kind of like private resource, something I can send them, that's like, hey, this is what, I don't know, just to make them, because I think people think there's gonna be swarms of honey around your front door, you're gonna be swatting them, you know, but
Yeah.
if there's swarms of bees, but it's not really like,
Um, there are some good articles out on the website as far as, are you in town anywhere, or where?
I'm in Garfield.
You're in Garfield, okay. Not really urban beekeeping, but, I mean, with a neighbor, you can look up urban beekeeping. There's some articles, we've got so much on the website, I don't remember if there's anything that, particularly to that topic. I can look and get to you if we've got anything on there.
Where in Garfield are you?
Not far from the short stop,
North side or south?
right in the middle.
You're,
Oh, 62.
you're
Right
across the tracks.
On the north side or the south side?
Across the tracks on 127, off 127.
So south
South
of the
side.
tracks.
Okay, okay. There are bears north of 62 by the military park, so I've got a couple of yards south of 62 I can help out.
Jamie was talking with a real estate client the other day that he's down off of Ventress Road and has had bears on his property.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been a few years, but
Yeah, I like to try to keep my bee from my neighbor's pool, and, setting out my water system, as a people, we need to be, how do we clean that, or we just let it go, I mean.
just for the bees to have, a lot of times, what I've seen in my yard, my bees prefer dirty water to clean water. I've got an old turtle sandbox that the kids have outgrown that I've used for that, and it's got so much stuff in it, grass is growing in the water, in the sandbox, and the bees love it.
So, just let it go, when you get.
Yeah, I mean, you got the sugar water in it, that'll train them to go in there, and then that's,
I'm gonna send you down and feed it like that, people use for chickens, et cetera, I mean, not for that.
Yeah,
Where's this at? Maybe,
yeah. I mean, you're not gonna keep every one of them from going over there, but as long as you're doing your due diligence, try your best to keep them on your place, and
You might wanna even put just a touch of chlorine in the water. Yeah,
Yeah.
they love, they do, they love swimming pools with chlorine. I just put maybe a cap full, you know, not very much.
they're not complaining because they sit on their floaties, the yellow ones would be really like the yellow floaties.
well, at least they got the floaties out there so they don't drown.
I didn't know whether you need to go get your floaties or go get a pool for them, you know, but, I thought I'd try to keep some of them on my property in certain areas.
You might also tell them not to wear a flower in the swimsuit, real bright one. They do like those.
You take the, pool noodles, cut the pool noodles, put like rings off the pool noodles and drop them in your pond or whatever.
Yeah.
It gives them a place to land, and the brighter they are, they like it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of trees in, a small trees in that we use.
The other thing you can do, Ed, is just use that whole thing as rationalization for putting in your own pool. I'm really good at that if you need help.
All right, well, if,
Quick question, does anybody go into long hives? Like,
well,
Steve has one.
Steve has a horizontal lane strip up there on the hill.
So far,
It's currently empty, but he's got a new
that's the one I had
system.
two calls in, and one of them's formed down.
yeah, I'll check some stuff, building doors, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, when I started, I went with all mediums for that purpose, so I didn't have to let these. And then it's all one size, I don't have to worry about different sizes, and so everything fits everything else, so. But I know in the past, we've had some that have the lay-ins hive. I don't know if anybody currently, Brad, do you know? Brad, do you know if anybody currently has a lay-ins hive?
I'm not that I'm
Katrina is
aware
the
of.
only one that I know of, and I don't know if she still has bees or not.
Who?
Katrina, Bradley, former club member,
Yeah, I'm not aware of any.
and, but Steve's the only one I know of that has a horizontal
I
hive.
know Steve came and robbed my shop and pulled a lot of lumber. And that was his goal, was to do.
He's got it up on the hill, Jason, if you wanna look at it.
So, all right. Field day, what they say, 23rd, and then the next meeting, I left my phone back there with my brain in it. Be the first Thursday of May. Will be our next monthly meeting. And so, unless y'all have anything else, this one's short and sweet. Appreciate you coming.
Well, they probably are.
Facebook.